Hi, I'm Mark Janes. Thankfully, spring has finally sprung. It's been a while since we visited with you, but welcome to the Hornet Spotlight. It's time to induct the newest member into the Beech Grove Hall of Fame, and we're happy to have with us Jennifer Clayton Guthrie, 1994 graduate of Beech Grove High School. First of all, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, I'll tell you, I've been doing this for a couple of years, and I really feel like that we have a celebrity in our midst because, folks, we've had a turnstile at the top of the stairs here of administrators from Beech Grove and faculty members, Mr. Banks, Mrs. Brown, Mr. Bradford. They've been awfully happy to see you. So
nice to be back. I've missed my Beech Grove community, and I'm honored to be welcomed back.
So a 1994 graduate of Beech Grove, you went to Holy Name, you and your brother went to Holy Name through 8th grade.
Yes.
You had an option between a couple of different schools,
Sure.
and we were talking about before we went on, what led you to choose Beech Grove?
You know, it was a feel I had at the point. You know, my parents gave me that option, and I felt I had many more pathways to potentially choose from coming to Beech Grove, and enjoyed every second of it, don't regret it. Was able to be involved in everything I wanted to be involved with in the community and at Beech Grove High School, and I'm very thankful for that opportunity.
Now, there are some pictures out in the lobby that you had your children, and we'll talk about them in just a little bit, but let's touch on that. Some of the extracurricular activities you were involved in that are documented in pictures that your children got a kick out of seeing.
I'm encouraging you not to look at the photo. However, I was in Jubileers for all 4 years of being a Hornet, and I was a cheerleader all 4 years. I played softball and was involved with different academic clubs and took advantage of everything that was offered in your great school.
Now we feel like that, you know, we're among the best of the best academically here in 2014, but you kind of like the environment that you saw. What piqued your interest very early on in high school here at Beech Grove?
Yeah, I just felt like my opportunities were endless, and at that point I was ready to pursue every option, knowing that my education wasn't going to end here. It was an appropriate stepping stone. And you know, quite honestly, sometimes it's just the feel you have stepping in, feeling very comfortable, very welcomed, and had fabulous teachers and instructors to help guide my decisions later in life.
We talked a little bit about before we went on. Xavier University was where you landed in Cincinnati. What took you to Xavier? What?
You know, very proud to be a Musketeer. I am of Catholic faith, and the Jesuit Catholic education drew me initially. Visiting, it was a small enough college, but large enough in a large city. Very strong undergrad science curriculum, which I knew I wanted to pursue medicine later in life. And again, once again, it was a feel, and in memory of my father who passed away when I was a senior in high school, it meant a lot to him.
So pre-med was the course of study at Xavier. Did you decide that right away?
Yes, I knew right away that's what I wanted to do. At that point, I didn't know med school versus another type of medical field, and but yeah, I knew very, very early on that science and medicine was the path for me.
Butler University was next after we graduated from Xavier?
Yes, was pre-med, and then went to Butler University for my 2-year graduate degree as a physician assistant, and have been practicing as a PA ever since.
Now, for those who may not know, they may think they know, but let's talk specifically about what a physician's assistant is and what they do.
So PA is considered an advanced practice provider, very similar in practice to what nurse practitioners do. However, the PA model, it's a postgraduate training, and very much modeled on med school, but in a much more condensed fashion. So generally there's 1 to 2 years of didactic education in the classroom, and then a full year of internship rotations, almost like a short residency that we do in many different specialties. As a practitioner, our functions are very similar to a physician. A lot of times they say we can do about 85% of what physicians can do. Currently in the state of Indiana, we had some legislative wins that we can write prescriptions. So I have my own patient clientele. They walk in, you do a history and physical on them, you assess them, diagnose them, order appropriate testing, write prescriptions, the whole gamut. And there are different types of specialties of PAs, surgical PAs, PAs working in emergency departments. And I think as our healthcare changes, we're going to see more of these physician extenders like PAs and nurse practitioners in the workforce.
So now, upon graduation from Butler, was Seymour your first stop? You said?
It was, yeah. Interesting. I did my family medicine rotation in Seymour, Indiana, and really instantly connected with the physician and the other PA that worked there. And I had a job offer 6 months before graduating from PA school. And that's been my community to practice in ever since I graduated. Moved there for about 3 years, and then my husband's job took us to Columbus, Indiana, which is where we still reside.
How did you find Seymour, Indiana, comparatively speaking, to growing up in Indianapolis and then
Sure.
being at Butler and Xavier and
Yeah.
Cincinnati?
You know, it was chance. I went where my rotation coordinator sent me, and for family medicine, it was Seymour.
I've been to Seymour several times.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fairly good-sized city, comparatively speaking, but I think it's held on to that small-town charm.
It sure has. And, you know, I think that's reflective in my patients that I see. I don't just see mom and dad, I see all the cousins and their children and their grandparents, and just a very welcoming, small-town feel kind of community, very appreciative, and have formed a lot of just very special bonds over the years. And the medical community is very, very similar to that.
And the irony is not lost on me, the fact that I think you can describe Beech Grove in a very similar fashion.
Absolutely.
I mean, here it is, you know, basically in the middle of Marion County, in the shadows of the state capital.
Yes.
And yet there is a lot of small-town feel to this community.
There absolutely is. And that potentially could have been what ultimately kept me there practicing for almost
Yeah.
14 years now.
Now, you're back at your alma mater,
I am.
Butler University.
I am. That was a crazy, crazy transition. I was not looking for a job change at the time, although opportunity kept knocking, and I finally listened. And I knew I wanted to be back in academics. I had precepted many PA students at my practice, and really realized quickly I loved educating students. And an opportunity came about. I interviewed and got the position at Butler and have been there a little over 2 years now, teaching in the PA program. Still, while I practice 1 day a week in my family practice in Seymour still.
Our goal here is openly stated that by the time a student walks through the doors for the first time as a freshman, we want to try to put them on a path
Sure.
of their choosing, to prepare them for college and later in life, and lay the foundation for, you know, academics beyond Beech Grove.
Sure.
That is, from your perspective, that's a great decision. That's a great direction that this level of academics is taking.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a sense of independence that Beech Grove provides to the students, and knowing they're there if you need them, but you need to spread your wings and learn to fly a little on your own. So I think if you can grasp those opportunities as a student, even in high school, know who to rely on, know who to network with early on, and I think it'll serve you well for years to come.
It's interesting over the couple of years that I've been doing these shows, too, with all of the success that everyone has had here, they all have strong ties to the extracurricular program
Yes.
here. And I think there is an obvious connection.
I do. I think that's part of wanting more than to just, you know, being a doctor, being a teacher. There's so much more connectivity that, and the networking. I keep going back to networking.
Sure.
And just those relationships. And I think that alone will help you later in life, interacting with folks from different backgrounds, with different strengths, really focusing on teamwork, because we're all going to be put in challenging situations, and learning how to navigate those extracurricular activities are absolutely, I think, made me a better person as a whole. Didn't really contribute to my academics, but I think as a person, we're looking for that well-rounded individual. I think when we interview PA students coming into our program, we have about 1,200 applicants for 50 spots every year, so it's quite a competitive program. It's not, we know they all have good grades, but we really do look at what else have you done to
Sure.
contribute to your community, to your passions in life, and those that often will set those folks aside.
What advice would you give a student in preparation over the next 4 years, if they're a freshman, or the next 3 years a sophomore, whatever the case may be? How do they get their how do they get their bio to pop? I mean, when they're applying for college, what sort of things from an admission standpoint are schools
Sure.
looking for to set them apart?
It's really that extracurricular. I mean, I think we can all go to class and get good grades. You know, I think that is required and expected of us. However, it's the maturity beyond, as I tell my students, beyond the walls. So really having that deeper passion, loyalty to organizations. I think for those that have, whether you do things through your church, whether you do things in your community, or whether you do things just as part of your school, that will set you apart because you're doing over and beyond what's expected of you. And that always, in my mind, equates to the more successful folks in our program. So much of it's just time management and able to shuffle all your different commitments because that's what life is going to throw at you, whether you're a parent, a professional, whatever it is, being a good friend to a good friend, you have to be able to manage your time well.
And life's a lot easier moving forward as an adult if you have the opportunity to make money doing something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah,
and there's
absolutely.
a price to be paid
Sure.
to be able to get to that point.
Sure.
But if you're willing to pay that price,
I
that's a
think so.
tremendous reward.
Yeah,
So-
and I think if you lay the groundwork early, the things to follow will be much easier to digest.
Well, before we let you get out of here, we want
Sure.
to let you tout things personally a little bit.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about your husband, who's
Yes.
another member of the Beech Grove Hall of
Yes,
Fame. You had
yes.
to elbow him out of the way a little bit to make a little room for you on the
That's
wall out
right.
there.
You know, Joe and I met in this fine establishment of Beech Grove High School,
That's
so we were
outstanding.
high school sweethearts. And Joe and I have been married since 1999, happily so. Currently live in Columbus. He's a software engineer in Columbus, where we live. We have two beautiful children. Sydney is 11 and Clayton is 9. And they go to St. Bartholomew in Columbus, and we enjoy every second of our busy lives with them.
Well, congratulations
Yes,
to you.
thank you.
On behalf of Randy Clevenger and the Alumni
Thank
Association.
you.
There's your plaque.
Well,
and
thank you.
As I said, just one last thing before we let you go. Just what runs through your mind? How satisfying is it when you're here in the studio? And as we said, Mr. Bradford, Mrs. Brown, Mr. Banks, the reception that you received from them, is that vindication?
It really is. It's a little, it's humbling to say the least.
Yeah.
That you know, you think you're just a blink of time in their memories, but you're more than that. And it's just very humbling, and I'm grateful, and it's very nice to be back.
Well, they have a lot of respect for you.
Oh well, thank you.
And it's
mutual. It's mutual.
Richly deserved. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Nice
Thank
visiting
you.
with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, that's going to about wrap it up. Now, listen, a lot of things coming up, of course, graduation, prom, all of those things. You go to the Beech Grove High School website, you'll have all the day dates and times that you need. You also might want to just double check that calendar. It's going to be extended for a couple of days because of Old Man Winter. We missed a lot of days because of snow and ice. The state, as you all know, says we have to attend school for a certain number of days or we can't learn anything. So you have to make sure that you're up to date. Some of you may have already had vacation plans in June. You need to get those squared away by looking at the website. Again, the Beech Grove High School website will give you all of the information that you need. Our thanks to Wiley Kraft for his production of our show today. Also thanks to Beech Grove High School Vice Principal Randy Clevenger for all of his work in getting the interview secured today. I'm Mark Jane. So long for now.